Do-Won Kim stood at the window of his research station, looking down at Earth. The blue planet turned slowly below, its cities glowing like strings of pearls in the dark. As the Galactic Federation's leading expert on ancient civilizations, he had visited many worlds. But Earth was different. It made no sense to him. Dr. Kim, the human workshop tour starts in 10 minutes. His assistant's voice came through the speaker. Do-Won adjusted his translator badge and checked his data pad one last time. After 6 months of studying humans, he still couldn't understand why they kept so many old tools. Every human settlement, from the smallest moon base to the largest space station, had at least one workshop filled with primitive devices: hammers, wrenches, manual saws, and other basic tools. The elevator took him down to Earth's surface, to a facility in what humans called South Korea. A woman in a blue uniform waited at the entrance. Her name tag read Soo-Min Choi, workshop manager. "Welcome to Seoul Central Manufacturing," Soo-Min said with a smile. "We're honored to have a Federation scientist visit us." Do-Won followed her through sliding doors into a large room. The sight made him stop in his tracks. Along one wall stood rows of advanced Federation standard fabricators, their quantum fields humming softly as they created perfect products from raw materials. But next to them was something that seemed to belong in a museum: long wooden workbenches covered with manual tools. "Ms. Choi," Do-Won said, trying to keep his voice polite, "I notice you have both modern fabricators and traditional tools. Why keep the old equipment when you have access to our technology?" Soo-Min picked up a hammer from one of the benches. It was a simple tool, just a metal head attached to a wooden handle. "These tools have served us well for thousands of years," she said. "We see no reason to stop using them." Do-Won made notes on his datapad. "But surely the fabricators are more efficient. They can create anything you need with perfect precision." "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," Soo-Min replied. She put the hammer back carefully, almost reverently. "Would you like to see the rest of the facility?" As they walked through the workshop, Do-Won saw more things that confused him. Young human workers learned to use both the quantum fabricators and the manual tools. They seemed to spend equal time practicing with each. In one corner, an old man showed a group of students how to shape metal using only a hammer and heat. The students watched with complete attention, even though there was a fabricator right behind them that could do the same job in seconds. "Excuse me," Do-Won interrupted the lesson. "Why teach them to work metal by hand when the fabricator is more precise?" The old man looked at him with kind eyes. "Young man," he said, "there are some things machines can't teach us. The feel of the metal, how it moves, how it wants to be shaped. These things you must learn with your hands." Do-Won wrote this down, but it didn't help him understand. The Federation had studied thousands of species across the galaxy. All of them had followed the same pattern. As they developed better technology, they stopped using their primitive tools. Only humans kept their old ways alongside the new. Later that day, Do-Won sat in his office on the research station, preparing his report for the Federation Council. His data pad showed images from workshops all over Earth and its colonies. Every single one had the same mix of old and new tools. A message notification blinked on his screen. It was from Jaya Park, a young Federation diplomat he had met at several meetings. She wanted to know his findings about human technology. Do-Won sent her a quick message. "Their behavior makes no logical sense. They have access to our most advanced technology, but they insist on keeping primitive tools and teaching their children to use them. It's as if they're preparing for something. But what?" Jaya's reply came quickly. "Maybe we're asking the wrong questions. Instead of asking why they keep the old tools, we should ask why they think they might need them." Do-Won sat back in his chair, thinking about her words. He looked down at Earth again. The planet kept turning, its workshops full of tools that had barely changed in thousands of years, while quantum fabricators hummed beside them. He made a decision. Instead of submitting his report, he would request permission for a deeper investigation. There had to be a reason why humans held onto their ancient tools so tightly. And somehow, he felt that finding that reason was more important than anyone in the Federation realized. That night, as he prepared for bed, Du-Won noticed something odd. The human maintenance worker who came to fix the climate control in his quarters brought both an advanced diagnostic tool and an old metal wrench. When the diagnostic tool showed no problems, the worker used the wrench instead and fixed the issue in minutes. Du-Won added this to his notes. Tomorrow, he would start his new investigation. Something was going on with humans and their old tools, something they weren't telling the Federation. And as he drifted off to sleep, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to uncover a truth that would change everything the Federation thought they knew about human civilization. In the morning, Du-Won submitted his request for an extended investigation to the Federation Council. HFY Park supported his request, adding her own observation that humans seemed unusually protective of their workshop traditions. The council approved their request within hours, faster than usual. Perhaps they too had noticed something odd about humanity's attachment to their ancient tools. As Du-Won prepared for his new mission, he remembered something his grandmother used to say. The simplest questions often have the most complicated answers. He had a feeling this investigation would prove her right. The human engineer assigned to help Du-Won with his investigation was named Han Lee. He was a tall man with careful eyes and steady hands. Du-Won noticed right away that Han seemed uncomfortable about the assignment. "I understand you've worked on both Earth and the colony worlds?" Du-Won asked as they sat in his office on the research station. "Yes," Han replied, his fingers tapping quietly on the arm of his chair. 15 years of experience with both Federation and human technology. "Excellent. Then you can help me understand something." Du-Won brought up a holographic display showing workshops from different human settlements. "Why do humans insist on keeping these old tools? Your people have access to our most advanced technology." Han was quiet for a long moment. "Some traditions are worth keeping," he said finally. His voice was calm, but Du-Won saw tension in his shoulders. Their first stop was a mining colony on Mars. The red planet's dust storms beat against the dome windows as they walked through the facility. Du-Won noticed something strange right away. Every worker carried both a Federation multi-tool and at least one manual tool, usually a wrench or hammer. "Is this standard procedure?" Du-Won asked, pointing to a worker who was fixing a door with a simple screwdriver instead of her multi-tool. "Yes," Han said. "Company policy." He didn't explain further. As they watched, the lights in the corridor flickered briefly. Du-Won saw every human worker reach for their manual tools, almost without thinking. When the lights stabilized, they relaxed, but kept their tools close. "That was just a power fluctuation," Du-Won said. "Why did everyone react that way?" Han shrugged. "Force of habit." But his eyes didn't meet Du-Won's. Their next visit was to Europa, Jupiter's ice moon. The human colony there was built deep under the ice, where a vast ocean held promising signs of alien life. The research facility was filled with the most advanced Federation scanning equipment. But again, Du-Won found workshops full of basic tools. This time, he saw something even more interesting. The human workers were teaching their children how to use the manual tools. Some of the children couldn't have been more than 10 years old. "Start them young," a researcher named Taiyang Ryo explained when Du-Won asked about it. "It's important they understand the basics." "But why?" Du-Won pressed. "They'll have access to better technology when they grow up." Taiyang looked at Han, who gave a tiny shake of his head. "It's our way," Taiyang said simply. That evening, Du-Won sent a message to HFY Park. "Something isn't right. The humans are hiding something. They teach their children to use old tools before they learn to use modern technology. When there are power problems, they reach for manual tools instantly, like they're expecting trouble. Han Lee knows more than he's telling me." HFY's response came quickly. "Keep watching. I've been looking through historical records. Humans have faced more technological collapses than any other species we know of. Maybe these aren't just tools to them. Maybe they're a kind of safety net. The next day, they visited a space station orbiting Saturn. As they walked through yet another workshop, a small accident gave Do-1 an important clue. A worker dropped a Federation quantum cutter, and its safety field failed. The device started to emit dangerous radiation. The humans responded with shocking speed. Without any panic, they switched to manual cutting tools and finished their work. No one seemed surprised or worried about the technology failure. "This has happened before," Do-1 said. It wasn't a question. Handel nodded slowly. Technology can fail. Hand tools don't. As they continued their tour of human facilities, Do-1 noticed more patterns. Every workshop had backup power systems, but they also had tools that needed no power at all. Every storage room had spare parts for Federation technology, but also basic materials for manual repairs. The humans were preparing for something. But what? Do-1's breakthrough came during a visit to a small colony on Mercury. The planet's harsh conditions meant the colony depended entirely on advanced technology for survival. But even here, in the most high-tech human settlement, there were workshops full of manual tools. During their inspection, a solar flare warning sounded. The humans moved quickly but calmly, securing equipment and checking their protective systems. Do-1 watched as they gathered in their workshops, manual tools ready. "This happens often here," Handel explained. "Mercury's close to the sun. Solar flares can damage sensitive equipment. But not simple tools," Do-1 said slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. Handel looked at him for a long moment. "No," he said quietly. "Not simple tools." That night, Do-1 couldn't sleep. He reviewed his notes again and again. The humans weren't just keeping their old tools out of tradition. They were maintaining them because they had learned something important, something the Federation had forgotten. He sent another message to Jaya. "I think I'm starting to understand. The humans don't see these tools as primitive. They see them as reliable. They've survived something that taught them not to trust technology completely." Jaya's reply was serious. "Be careful with this investigation, Do-1. I've been asking questions too. Some people in the Federation are getting nervous about what you might find." The next morning, Handel seemed different. The careful look in his eyes had changed to something like resignation. "You're getting close to the truth," he said as they prepared to visit another colony. "But are you sure you want to know? Some knowledge changes everything." Before Do-1 could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed in every corridor. The station's advanced systems were failing, and no one knew why. As panic began to spread among the Federation staff, Do-1 watched the humans closely. They were already moving toward their workshops, manual tools in hand. Handel looked at him with a grim expression. "Now you'll understand," Handel said, picking up a simple wrench. "Come with me if you want to learn why we keep the old ways." Do-1 followed, knowing he was about to discover the truth that humans had been protecting for so long. Behind them, the station's sophisticated technology continued to fail, but the sound of hammers and wrenches echoed through the corridors, steady and sure. The real lesson was about to begin. The space station's emergency lights cast red shadows as Do-1 followed Handel through the corridors. Around them, Federation officials rushed back and forth, trying to understand why their advanced systems were failing. The air felt thick with fear and confusion. "Watch and learn," Handel said, leading Do-1 to the main engineering section. Inside, human engineers were already at work. Their movements were quick but steady, like they had practiced this many times before. The station's quantum core, usually glowing with blue light, was dark. The Federation's pride, their most advanced power system, had failed completely. But the humans didn't seem surprised. "Hand me that wrench," called out Su-Min Choi, who had joined them from Earth. She was already removing panels from the backup power system. Her hands moved with certainty, even in the dim light. This is why we keep the old tools, Handel explained as they watched. This is why we teach our children to use them before they touch any advanced technology. Do-One observed in amazement as the humans worked. They used their manual tools with incredible skill, bypassing failed electronic systems and creating mechanical connections. Slowly, sections of the station began to regain power. But how did you know this might happen? Do-One asked. Why were you so prepared? Handel wiped sweat from his forehead with a cloth. Because it has happened before. Many times. Not just to us, but to others before us. A loud crash echoed through the station. More systems were failing. The artificial gravity began to weaken, making tools and loose objects float in the air. But the humans had prepared for this too. They wore magnetic boots and had tethers for their tools. Your Federation technology is wonderful, Handel said, securing a floating wrench to his belt. But it has a weakness. All advanced technology does. The more complex it becomes, the more ways it can fail. Through the window, Do-One could see other stations and ships in orbit. Many were dark, their systems also affected by whatever was causing the failures. But the human ships looked different. They still had some lights on. Our ships always have manual backup systems, Handel explained, seeing Do-One's surprise. Systems that can be operated with simple tools and human hands. We learned this lesson long ago. Taiyang Ryu arrived with more human engineers. They carried toolboxes filled with wrenches, hammers, and other manual tools. The Federation engineers are panicking, he reported. They don't know what to do without their diagnostic computers. Show them, Handel ordered. Show them how to use the basic tools. We need everyone working together now. Do-One watched as human engineers paired up with Federation personnel. They taught them how to use simple tools, how to make repairs without computers, how to think with their hands instead of relying on artificial intelligence. There's something you need to see, Handel said to Do-One after several hours of work. He led the way to a secure room in the human section of the station. Inside, old paper books lined the walls. Real paper, not digital screens. These are our records, Handel explained, pulling out a thick book. Written on paper because paper doesn't need power to be read. These books tell the story of why we keep our old tools. Do-One carefully opened the book. The pages were filled with handwritten notes and drawings. They showed different times in human history when advanced technology had failed. Some failures were caused by natural disasters, others by war or accidents. But each time, the humans who remembered how to use simple tools had survived. Our history is full of cycles, Handel said quietly. Civilizations rise, technology advances, then something happens, something that makes all the advanced technology stop working. The only ones who survive are those who remember the old ways. A message came through on the emergency communication system, one of the few systems the humans had managed to restore. It was from Jaya Park. Do-One, are you safe? Her voice crackled through the speaker. The council is in chaos. This technology failure is spreading to other sectors. Some are saying the humans knew this might happen. We did know, Handel said into the speaker. We've always known. It's why we keep our workshops. Why we teach our children to use manual tools. Why we never completely trust any technology too advanced to fix with our own hands. Through the station's windows, they could see more ships arriving. Human ships, carrying engineers and simple tools. They moved from station to station, helping restore basic systems. Your Federation convinced itself that technology would always move forward, always become more advanced, Handel continued. But we humans remembered something important. The ability to step backward when needed, to return to simpler tools that we can control and repair ourselves. Do-One thought about everything he had seen in his investigation, the workshops on every human settlement, the children learning to use manual tools, the careful way humans maintained both advanced and simple technology. You're not primitive, he said slowly. You're survivors. Handel nodded. Now you understand. But this is just the beginning. The real question is, what caused this technology failure? And is it really an accident? Su Min appeared at the door, her face serious. Han-ol, we're getting reports from the outer colonies. This isn't just happening here. Something is affecting advanced technology across this entire sector of space. Do-won looked at the books of human history, then at the simple tools that were now keeping the station running. He realized that humanity hadn't just preserved their old tools, they had preserved the wisdom of when to use them. There's more you need to know, Han-ol said, reaching for another book, about why we really joined the Federation, and what we've been preparing for all this time. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine on a galaxy that was quickly learning why humans never forgot their ancient tools. The lesson was just beginning. The emergency lights in the station's archive room cast long shadows across the old books. Do-won sat quietly as Han-ol pulled another volume from the shelves. This one looked older than the others, its cover worn by years of handling. Before I show you this, Han-ol said, you need to understand something. Humans didn't join the Federation just to share technology or trade goods. We joined because we saw signs of history repeating itself. He opened the book carefully. Inside were detailed drawings of ancient ruins found on Earth. The pages showed fallen cities, dead machines, and people returning to simple tools after great disasters. Our planet has seen many civilizations rise and fall, Han-ol explained. Each time, the pattern was the same. They would create wonderful machines, amazing technology, and then, he paused. Then something would make it all stop working. Su Min entered the room with a data pad showing reports from across the galaxy. It's spreading, she said. The technology failures are following a pattern, moving from system to system, just like the old records said it would. Han-ol nodded. He turned to Do-won. This isn't an accident. It's not a natural event. It's something that has happened many times before, on Earth and probably on other worlds too. Do-won's translator badge flickered and died. The human engineers had managed to keep basic systems running in the station, but anything more complex was failing. He could still understand the humans, though. They had taught him their language during his investigation, insisting it might be important. What do you mean? Many times before, Do-won asked. Han-ol pulled out a star chart, a paper one, not digital. Look at these markings. Our deep space telescopes found something interesting years ago. There are places in the galaxy where ruins of advanced civilizations exist, but they all seem to have collapsed at about the same level of technological development. The same level we're at now, Su Min added quietly. A loud bang echoed through the station as another system failed. Through the windows, they could see rescue ships approaching. Human ships, powered by simple engines that still worked. We tried to warn the Federation, Han-ol continued. We showed them our history, our records of civilizations falling. But they didn't understand. They thought we were being paranoid, primitive. They didn't realize we were the survivors of countless collapses. Tai Yang entered the room with more reports. The pattern is clear now, he said. It's like a wave moving through space, disabling any technology above a certain level of complexity. The Great Filter, Han-ol said. That's what our ancestors called it. They theorized that somewhere out there, something or someone created a system to prevent civilizations from advancing too far. Maybe they thought advanced technology was dangerous. Maybe they were protecting something. We don't know. Do-won thought about all the workshops he had visited, all the humans carefully maintaining their simple tools alongside advanced technology. You were preparing for this all along. Yes, Han-ol confirmed. Every human colony, every settlement, every ship has the tools and knowledge to survive without advanced technology. We never forgot the lessons our ancestors learned. A message arrived from Jaya Park. The Federation Council was in emergency session. Reports were coming in from everywhere. Advanced ships stranded in space, colonies going dark, communication systems failing. The Federation is falling apart. Jaya's voice crackled through the simple radio the humans had set up. They don't know how to function without their technology. But the human colonies, they're adapting. They're helping others survive. Handel spread out more papers on the table. This is why we joined the Federation. Not just to share technology, but to be ready. To help when this happened. Because it always happens, sooner or later. But what do we do now? Do-One asked. We rebuild, Sumin said firmly. But this time, we do it the human way. We keep the simple tools alongside the advanced ones. We teach everyone how to work with their hands, how to understand basic principles. And we study the wave, Tai Yang added. Now that we can see it happening, we can learn about it, maybe find a way to protect against it next time. Through the window, they watched as human ships towed disabled Federation vessels to safety. On every ship, in every colony, humans were teaching others how to use simple tools, how to make basic repairs, how to survive without advanced technology. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, Handel said. Not our technology, but our experience. Our understanding that progress isn't always about moving forward. Sometimes it's about remembering how to step back safely. Do-One looked at his dead data pad, then at the paper books and manual tools that were keeping them alive. You knew this was coming, but you still joined the Federation. You still shared your technology. Why? Because that's what humans do. Handel smiled slightly. We climb as high as we can, but we always keep a rope and basic tools ready for the climb down, and we try to help others do the same. In the following weeks, as the wave of technology failures spread across the galaxy, humanity's workshops became centers of learning. Federation species that had forgotten how to use simple tools now learned eagerly. The human practice of maintaining both old and new technology was no longer seen as primitive. It was recognized as wisdom earned through hard experience. Do-One finished writing his report for whatever remained of the Federation Council. He wrote it by hand, on paper, just as humans had taught him. His final words were simple but powerful. The humans never forgot their ancient tools because they never forgot their history. They knew that true civilization isn't measured by the height of its technology, but by its ability to survive its loss. In teaching us this lesson, they may have saved us all. Outside the station, the galaxy was changing. Advanced technology was failing everywhere, but humanity's workshops were busy. The sound of hammers and wrenches echoed through space stations and colonies. A symphony of survival played on humanity's ancient tools. The Federation was learning what humans had known all along. Sometimes the simplest tools were the most important ones to keep.